Let me change my name here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, now I can. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Good.
All right, we can see you. Can you see us?
Absolutely. Yes, I have you on the 85-inch TV now.
It's a good thing I washed my face.
Beautiful face. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mohammed.
So,
It's a good group.
We'll start in another minute. We have over 50 people registered for this call today. So,
okay.
And that's usually, statistics tell us about 1/3 of the people registered come. So
Okay.
we'll give it one more minute and then we'll start.
No problem. No problem at all.
Well, welcome everyone.
There is no rush. We're in Florida, 6 p.m. Hey,
And
it cannot be better than that.
And I'm in the very cold Northwest. The sun is shining, but it's a little chilly. So here we go. Let's see. It's
well. That's why we're here.
I see. Okay. Well, you know, when it gets to be 70 degrees here, people say, "This isn't why I moved here." So, so we tend to like a little bit of the cool world that it surrounds us. So welcome everyone. I'm going to keep my eye on people coming in, and this is a meeting that started with a previous meeting, and Bill was the person who really actually got the ball rolling, and I'm going to ask him and Nancy a little along the way here that they speak up, but you know, since this is it's a very initial meeting, some of you are interested in compassionate communities, others might just be interested in compassion generally, and some might just be here for a curious ride. So whatever reason has brought you here, welcome. And I think that I did prepare a few slides, not many, that hopefully will bring us to some understanding of why we actually are here. And so I titled this Compassion Alive in Florida. And so I'd like to start out with what I think are the three goals or the three purposes of bringing us together. And I should say who I am. First of all, not everyone here knows me. I'm Marilyn Turkovich, and I'm the executive director of the Charter for Compassion. And as many of you know, the charter has been around only since 2009, but was not until 2014 that we became an official 501c3. And so it's been, you know, an interesting ride, and I can talk a little bit about that as we go along. But why are we here? It's basically to begin to connect with one another and strengthen the relationship across Florida, whether that might be with members of the Charter for Compassion, compassionate communities, or partners to the Charter. So we'd like to welcome new voices and talk a little bit and figure out, you know, from where are we coming to this conversation. The second is to encourage dialogue and some storytelling. And we know that it's through stories that we really find the glue that holds us together. And so these shared experiences, and in some cases challenges, and listening to how people have had some really success and accomplishment in the work that they're doing. And so we're going to be inspired, hopefully, by each other's journeys. And then we're going to generate ideas for local and compassionate action. So that's what hopefully will be the order. And I just switched this off too quickly, but the very first step is would like to just go around. There's, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in waiting for coming in. So let me make certain that they're all here.
Let me in.
So they're all so everyone's in now, or at least until the next person comes. So I thought that
So you have about half now.
yeah, we're doing well. Uh, so I think, Nancy, can I call on you not to say anything at this moment, but I do have an AI feature here that's taking some notes, but it's only going to do it for about 30 minutes. So if maybe, I don't know if you could just jot down some notes so that whatever wise things we're saying, we can hold on to and then share them later. So I'd like to quickly go around. Okay. And I can call on you. That'll save time. And so I think it would be, wonderful if you would give us your name, where you're from in Florida. We might have some interlopers here from, sometimes we'll have these meetings and we might find somebody from Cambodia or Kenya or something. That's not unusual, but I'm guessing this is an all Florida meeting. So your name, the place in Florida from where you hail, and then maybe just a little bit like a sentence about your passion for compassion. Are you here because you're curious? Are you here because you are part of a compassionate community or a partner charter or a member or whatever? So hopefully this won't take a long time, but at least, and please, if you want to share your email address, that would be great if people wanted to contact you later on. We will be, obviously, we're recording this, and for the people who have not been able to come today, we'll share the recording. And we don't share what is in the chat, but we do share the recording. Okay, so Bill, you're the very first person who's on my screen, so I'm going to go with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for arranging this, Marilyn, and we really appreciate your support in what is seems to be a long journey for us here in Florida. But one of the reasons that I sit on the board of the Floridians for Democracy and also the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida group, and we were just not satisfied with what we were witnessing from our government. And we were seeing that, for me, my opinion is that our government's no longer prioritizing the well-being of its people. And we're witnessing migrants that are being herded into planes and sent off without due process. Mass firings across the government without any concern for the impact on the population, and as well as the people that are being fired. LGBTQ and trans people under attack in our neighborhood. I mean, these are unheard of in America. And not satisfied with that, we wanted to do something. And we believe that if we can appeal to something that's in our DNA, compassion for each other, has nothing to do with what politics, has nothing to do with the religion you're in, has nothing to do with your race, but it's basically who we are as human beings. If we can appeal to that and work at the local level with our civic leaders on policies that do not bring suffering to our neighbors. And so that's the image that I have. And I'm hoping that today we can come away with a group of people that would like to work both at a statewide level as a kind of what I think you call them ambassadors, Marilyn. Yeah. To help organize local groups, and then also some people that want to work locally with their particular cities or communities to make them communities of compassion. I know we've in Fort Myers,
I'm gonna stop you only because I had a place later on for you
Oh, okay, good.
to address all of these things, but we'll just keep moving on, and then
Okay,
because you'll have a chance to listen to other people and then maybe even reflect further
okay, sure.
how you initiated this effort. Douglas, what about you? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Douglas. I live in Largo, Florida, home of the indigenous Tocobaga tribe. And I'm interested in this. I'm a member of the Connection Partners, longtime person, mental health counselor, very much interested in raising our consciousness and to live our compassion toward each other. So glad to be here. Super excited about what you're doing with this. And we met Nancy in St. Augustine, Florida, where she came to present to a group of us in St. Augustine, really wowed us about the compassionate cities. So thank you.
Okay, well, we have another person from St. Augustine right next to you, at least on my screen, Arthur. And so, wow, the group.
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, everybody. I'm Arthur Colbert. I was the former executive director of Compassion St. Augustine, one of the co-founders of St. Augustine Compassionate Village, and very involved in compassion through the Village to Village Network, as well as through the compassion. So I'm grateful to be here, and thank you, Marilyn, and Bill for organizing this.
Thank you. And Mohammed, I know you're very shy, so I hope that you can muster enough energy to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from.
Well, thank you. Nobody told me that before, but that's very kind of you. And they try not to give me a microphone, so hopefully you have control of this. I'm Mohammed Al-Darsani. I used to be the Imam of the Islamic community in Fort Myers.
Okay.
I am excited to be a part of this meeting today, especially after I met with Bill and explained to me what the purpose of the organizing is. And I've been working on something very similar, but within the interfaith community.
Okay.
And I hope we can bring what we have done to this group.
Okay,
Thank you.
That sounds wonderful. I have two very special imams that I could introduce you to. One is a charter ambassador, and you might know him, Jamal Rahman, who is originally from Bangladesh, but he's part of the Interfaith Amigos, and so looking forward to that exchange with you. Risa?
What city in Florida?
Pardon me? He's not in Florida. He's
Ah.
he lives in Seattle. Yeah.
In Seattle. Okay. I'll be glad to meet with him. Thank you.
Risa?
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, everybody. I'm Risa Wilkerson. I am here for a couple of reasons. I am about a year or 2-year-long resident now of Florida. So on a personal level, I'm trying to get a better sense of what's going on in the state of Florida, and very much concerned about the state of affairs in our nation right now and wanting to do anything that I can to help build a more compassionate world. On a professional level, I lead a nonprofit consulting firm that is focused on social justice and health and well-being. And we got to know the network of compassionate communities several years ago. Was introduced by Reverend Ann Helmke out of what is it?
San Antonio.
I could not get it out of my mouth. San Antonio. Yes, she and I have become good friends, and we had a compassion training for our staff after meeting her and some things like that. Really seeing a connection between compassion and the mission and vision of our organization. So we continue to sort of pursue that line there, but here I wanted to join because I'm curious how it's looking at a state level, and then personally how perhaps I might be able to get involved. So that's me.
And what place in Florida are you from? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Kissimmee.
Kissimmee.
Is that how you say it? You Floridians, is it Kissimmee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Thank you. I've been wanting to ask somebody that forever.
Okay, great. Okay. Janice.
Hi, my name's Jan Boer, and I'm the director of the Climate Justice Ministry of the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida, which is why I'm on this call because of Bill's leadership in suggesting this umbrella. I work very closely in communities, very much cross-sector work, and at the very hyper-local level, where people are more inclined to be compassionate. And I am very interested in hearing the language and the different frameworks and constructs that people are working with when they're coming up against something you may or may not agree with a particular policy, but the implementation of the policy, if you do agree, it would be very nice if rather than choosing the most cruel path for implementation, a compassionate path could be described. So I'm very interested in hearing the language that people are using and the things they're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Margaret. There you go.
Hey, I'm Margot. I'm from Jacksonville. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you have a lot of reverberation, and I'm not sure why.
Okay. How about now?
It's a little better.
A little better. I'll make it quick. Sorry, I need some technical training as well, but I'm very true and compassionate about what we have going on here in our small group of it's called Indivisible Jacks, the Riverside section. And I have recently joined in with that group maybe a month ago, and am serving on one of the committees to help promote the growth of our group, and hence the interconnection with other groups for them serving the common goals. And I love what everyone has said thus far, and I look forward to learning more and offering more as we go along, and continue to strive towards more compassion and the changes that we know we need to have made. So thank you for sharing this, and thanks for allowing us to join.
Oh, great. Thank you. And Nancy, stop taking notes and introduce yourself.
Thank you for the invitation, and I am so glad to be participating in this call that has kind of been on the parking lot of my brain for a little over 2 years now. Just recognizing the number of compassionate communities arising in the state of Florida, and also recognizing some of the less than compassionate things that have been happening in our state. And so hopeful, and now getting to see all of you is wonderful. I live in St. Augustine. I have served for about 3 years as the liaison between the International Charter for Compassion and Compassionate St. Augustine. And I have been studying compassion for about 4 years. And I'm excited to also be recently learning more about how to serve as a compassionate ambassador at large, gathering the tools so that I can more effectively invite and engage and practice in compassionate action. So finding models that will be effective within our communities, and then seeing how we can strategically plan to link our communities in a multitude of ways so that we can all thrive. High tides lift all boats, right?
Very good. Thank
That's
you.
me.
Ensign?
Gotta find out how to mute first.
There you go.
Fort Myers, Ensign Cowell. I'm a resident, but a snowbird up to Ohio and Cleveland,
Okay.
and have been involved in environmental action, for the last dozen years or so. And once we heard, and St. Augustine heard from Nancy about compassionate cities and the whole Charter for Compassion, we were just drawn to the idea that this is something that needed to be fostered greatly, around the state and elsewhere. But the important thing strategically to us is if you can make Florida compassionate, heaven knows we might have some influence somewhere else too. So
I would think so. Yeah. Great.
blessings to everybody.
Sharon.
Hello there. I'm Sharon Joy Kleitch here on the waters of the Tampa Bay and the land of the Tocobagan, and honor our ancestors who brought us here at this time and the ancestors that are in this mix this evening. And I thank you. I discovered Karen Armstrong some years ago studying with Matthew Fox at a master's in spirituality out your way, Marilyn. And one thing led to another. And then I met friends up in Washington and met John Raymer, started up in Seattle. And I just got an email about his compassionate games. I was drawn to the idea of City of Compassion because of working with the Florida Council of Churches, bringing faith and climate leaders together since about, 2015, and realized that compassion is something that people are drawn to rather than wanted to turn away from. So I reached out to my fellow conspirator, Russell Meyer, the executive director of the Florida Council of Churches, and I said, why don't we make a proposal to the city of St. Petersburg? So talked with Chuck Warren, whom I'd known when he was in this area before he went up to St. Augustine when I learned it was #1, chatted with him and some others, and then some folks in Orlando. And so eventually we had our mayor and city council officially proclaim that we were a city of compassion. And I'm happy to say that our mayors have continued to adopt that term as a city of compassion, growing into a beloved community.
Mhm.
And I've been told by the mayor's staff that they're even starting to research it even more. So I think that's of appeal. And the idea of what can we do that brings us together than to focus on what brings us apart is always an appeal to me. So I had looked at where there were other cities that were ripe in Florida in my proposal. So I still have all those ideas and processes that we used here in St. Petersburg. And I do know that the city of St. Petersburg is willing and happy to be a champion to reach out to other cities. And I just did that last week with the city of Groveland, Florida. Wouldn't they like to be #4? Invited them to this one, and invited the vice chair of the county commission of Lake County is, wouldn't they like to be the first county in Florida to be a compassionate county? So that's a little bit about my story. But I believe in humans. I believe in our capacity to be human beings at a larger level of humanity. So that's why I'm invested in this.
Okay, you encourage me to just give a tiny bit of history, and that is that the founder of the Charter for Compassion, Karen Armstrong, is from the United Kingdom. She lives in London, and she, I think it's safe to say, is a theologian and a historian. And the TED organization of the TED Talks recognized her in 2008 by giving her an honorary monetary award, first one that they ever gave. And it was, and a wish. And her wish was compassion, to build a charter for compassion. And so the roots of the Charter for Compassion are actually the TED Talks. And it took a while, but a year later, the charter was unveiled at the United Nations, and 125 countries around the world recognized the Charter for Compassion, and the continent of Australia decided at that time by Parliament that they were the first official continent of compassion. And they have done that again, I think maybe around 2019. So just a little tiny bit of history there that you encouraged me to remember. Dick, you're next.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm Dick Stammer. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. I'm pleased to see my pastor, Reverend Jay Mullen, is here as well. And I've been a member, actually a resident of Florida since 2002, originally from Maryland. I'm retired in child welfare. I'm very involved with the Social Justice Committee at our UU. And I'd like to think of Florida as being compassionate the people on this Zoom are obviously representative of that compassion, and maybe some others are just misguided. But I think through our actions, we can hopefully bring more of them around. And what's fascinating for me is I'm in the process of relocating to Paris to join my wife, who is there. And but I am trying to figure out ways to still remain involved with my folks here in the USA and the many friends and family I have here in Florida and elsewhere. So this is not going to be the end of me with Florida, just simply moving away. And I'm so very involved with everything going on here. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, Zoom is a good tool.
Yes.
Bill? Up your mic. There you go.
Bill Dodo in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm part of a collection of people who are here from the Connection Partners of Sharon Joy Fudge. My interest is, I'm a longtime spiritual explorer, and I am very interested in seeing the word compassion utilized much more frequently in our public discourse.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Joe?
Thank you. I'm Joe Iannone here in Hollywood, Florida, the land of the Miccosukees and Seminoles these days. I'm part of the Florida network that Sharon Joy facilitates every Monday night, and learn from Bill about the initiation of a movement for cities of compassion, which I'm interested in Florida. But I need compassion that leads to justice. And I'm going to see if I can learn about that here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Diane?
Hi, I'm Diane Costello, and I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a new member with Margaret, with one of the 7 indivisible groups in this area. And we have an encouraging kindness committee, and we're just seeing how we might collaborate, just to find out, just curious about what's going on. And personally, I'm always more motivated by being drawn to something, working towards something, than fighting against something.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Lana?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Anson is my husband, and I am here because he has been so taken with the whole concept of the compassionate community that I felt that I needed to learn more about it. But I'm particularly interested in knowing what, by being designated a compassionate city or compassionate community, it, I don't know what the right word is. What does that community do? What are the actions that it should, for lack of a better word, be taking because they are a compassionate city?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think I can very quickly answer this. It's much more involved than what I'm going to say to you. Is that right now, the Charter for Compassion we have very close to 600 communities in 55 countries. So it certainly is a movement. And each one of these communities makes a decision on what are the most grave issues that they want to work on within their community. So if this meeting was occurring in Karachi, there would be several issues, one of which is water sanitation, terrorism, and how to educate young people to stay away from terrorism, and also women's empowerment. If we were in Las Vegas, it would be food scarcity and houselessness. If we were in San Antonio, it would be resettlement of immigrants. So each community, like right now, we have our first refugee camp in Uganda with young people, basically, who've been displaced from 7 different countries. And their issue, they have one issue, and that is how they can get together and be living in harmony, because they have a lot of fights among themselves. So it's up to each community to determine what is it that they want to work with. And working together means that you build a very strong team of individuals, and that in the process of building that team, you begin to collaborate with local government. If your local government says, after a period of time, we're in dialogue that, yes, we would like to have a proclamation, a resolution, we'd like to make it official, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Because one of the things about being a compassionate community is where you're really working collaboratively together. And we'll talk a lot more about that, but that's a very quick answer.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. Martha.
Hello, I'm just here to listen and to learn.
Okay.
I read Karen Armstrong a long time ago. I think it's a word that most everybody can get behind, whatever their religion or lack of religion. So that is a very hopeful thing. And given the situation we now are in this country, compassion could be a word that opens doors and opens minds.
Great. Can you tell us where you're from?
Oh, sorry. I live in Claremont, which is near Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
And I go to church in Orlando.
Okay, great. Thank you. Reverend Joy.
Yeah, hi, I'm Reverend Jay Wolin, the Unitarian Universalist of Sarasota, Florida, and one of our leaders of our green team, Marianne Bowie, mentioned this, and I've of course read Karen Armstrong's book and heard her give a talk many years ago, and so I'm curious to find out more so I can learn how to support my members as they pursue this.
Okay, great. You know, another thing, a remembrance is that one of the very first groups to endorse the Charter for Compassion was the Unitarian Universalist Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Methodist Church, all in the very beginning endorsed the Charter. By the way, also for people who are in cities that are larger than 35,000, the U.S. Mayor's Conference has twice endorsed the Charter for Compassion, urging cities to really consider how is it that they can bring together local citizens in collaboration and working together in a coalition with local government. So just another tidbit. Robin.
Hello, this is Robin Thomas from St. Augustine, Florida, and I am the executive director for our charter. And I'm here to learn how we can continue to keep St. Augustine a compassionate city.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And you have a great mayor as well that I was able to meet with a couple of weeks ago. So I hope, is that picture behind you real?
No.
Okay. Okay. Good.
I wish I was in Hawaii, but no.
Okay, Jane.
Hi, I'm Bill Petrarca's wife.
Oh, okay.
So for over 32 years, Bill has broadened my knowledge and experience. And so I'm here to listen and learn.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jane. And Connie? Connie, are you able?
Hello, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on my phone and I'm sorry I'm sitting outside, but I'm Connie Webb and I live in Venice, Florida, and I attend Unitarian Universalist of Sarasota. And I just heard about this organization today from my friend Paul Scholl. So I'm just here to find out more about what it's all about and to support him because I think we're trying to get Sarasota on the list.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, we'll hear from you next. Fred just came in, so hopefully he'll see what we're doing here.
Hi, yeah, I'm Paul Scholl and live in the Rosemary District in Sarasota. And I also belong to the Unitarian Universalist of Sarasota, and that I know Jay and yay and Dick and Connie. And I found out about this by going to a seminar that we had over there. I think Marianne was maybe responsible for that. And but anyway, what draws me to it is I've just got a compassion for, let's say, first of all, homeless, I would think, and that's a big issue for us. And I work with Megan Howell with Second Heart Homes, and she's doing a fantastic job of helping to limit as much as possible the homeless situation. And as a precinct captain, I'd really like to try and find out how we can expand this, and do a city charter would be fantastic. I mean, so I'm gonna I haven't contacted Debbie Trice yet, but she's one of our commissioners, and but anyway, this is part of learning. How do we get this show on the road?
Okay, great. I'm here to help, hopefully. And Terry M.
Yes, I'm Terry Mott. I'm from Vieira, Florida. I'm on the East Coast, right near Melbourne. And I actually have 4 passions. And since I have a tendency to keep going on and on, I wrote them down so I can tell you real fast. Right now, it's saving democracy in America. And number 2 is shift our government at all levels from a them versus us to a we culture. Number 3 is promote intergenerational civic engagement and education. And number 4 is to promote home gardening. And to do this, I created 2 nonprofits this year. One is Brevard Civic Advance, and the other is Brevard Community Solutions. I'm trying to connect all of our resources within our county. And my 2 projects with these nonprofits are, one of them is we're doing a deep dive into stormwater education, and I just got permission from our district to design a training program for low impact development and stormwater education for the district. And the other project is I'm working with one of our elementary schools in a low income area, and we're going to get 20 home gardening packets with raised bed garden beds for 20 families. So that's our goal for this year. I guess that's it for me.
Very good.
And the reason I just want to add, the reason I'm here is I don't like reinventing the wheel, and I just want to be connecting with anyone across Florida who's doing anything that we're doing here, and I want to bring it from actually I'm also a member of the League of Women Voters, and I love their connection with the UN. So I'm trying to bring Brevard to the UN and the UN to Brevard and everything else in between, try to connect them up so we're all on one page.
Okay, I want to give you a little sneak peek of how the charter works. We call ourselves a network of networks. I mentioned that we have almost 600 communities around the world. We also have close to 3,000 partners. So that, Terry, when you begin to talk about your passions, I can say, gosh, I'd like to connect you with Compassionate San Antonio, because there's a 3rd grade classroom where kids begin to learn about gardening and planting seeds, and the seeds that they germinate in the 3rd grade, they plant in the 4th grade, and they nurture and cultivate in the 5th grade. There's a program in Las Vegas that is totally dedicated to teaching kids gardening. There's another one with Alice Walker in San Francisco that is also a charter partner. So I can go on just with the gardening thing. So there's just a lot of opportunities, I think, where we can network. We can give you the introduction, we can plant the seed, and then you take it and move it forward. But thank you for all that work you're doing. Also, I just can't ignore this one. There is a wonderful person, Miranda Glenning, and she is in Boulder, Colorado, and she has been working, I don't know, I think 5 years, and has totally by community gardens has eliminated food scarcity in that community all by herself, just like you, Terry. So
Thank you so much. That's exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm trying to encourage my county to start. I am in touch with a Texas school, and I'm trying to replicate they have a beautiful junior master gardener program, and I'm trying to encourage Brevard County to do that. So everything you're talking about, you've just made my day. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Marilyn, can I just say, Terry, this is Arthur in St. Augustine, and we have been doing this for 15 years. So my email is in the chat, and reach out to me, please. And delighted to be helpful.
Thank you so much.
That's right. And it's even on your website, I think. So fantastic. Fred, you're our last person. I think you probably, you've heard a few people introduce themselves, so you probably know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to arrive late. I see some familiar faces, Bill Petrarca and Ensign Cole and Sharon Joy there. I was affiliated with Reset, the group that Ensign and Bill were involved in. But the one that is I'm on the board of a center at FGCU called ROC, the Roots of Compassion and Kindness. And it's teaching compassion and kindness to the college students, all levels, all 4 levels. And there are probably 6, there are 4 full-time faculty, and there are probably six courses that are taught. And then FGCU has a service learning requirement for graduation. So everybody that takes this course wants to fulfill that commitment by working with kids in elementary and middle schools all across Lee County and Charlotte County. We're in about 22 schools now. And it's just growing because if you teach compassion and kindness to kids, they get it. The tone of the school changes, the tone of the classroom changes, the teachers love it, the principals love it. And so I'm deeply, and as a longtime Buddhist meditator, I mean, that's just sort of right. I'm aligned with that thoroughly. So I know Bill's been active with this program, and so I'm just here to find out more about it.
And I'd love to know more about the program that you're working with. And again, looking at the networking in the Charter for Compassion. For the most part, we do not create our own programs. We vet programs, and then we introduce those programs into our compassionate communities. So, for example, one is Think Equal. It's for very young children, 3 to 6. It comes out of the United Kingdom. Leslie Unwin is the founder of the program. We introduced that program in Monterrey, Mexico, and now over 27,000 students have gone through that program. And it's a social emotional learning program with compassion and kindness built into it. We also introduced it to one of the provinces in the country of Australia. and over 100,000 young people have gone through the program, and now it is being considered to be offered throughout the country of Australia. So that's one. The other program that we're really closely involved with is Sea Learning. And Sea Learning is part of the legacy of the Dalai Lama. It was started in 2019. I was just trying to remember. It was launched in India. And it's an incredible program for elementary through secondary schools. And it's administered out of Emory. And then the very last one, by the way, these programs that I'm talking about, you get in touch with us and we start dialoguing with you to see, what is it that could happen within your community to bring these kinds of programs in. But then the other thing is, how is it that we sustain these programs within your community? And that is that we train people within your community. And so we just finished a pilot with Emory University, and actually tomorrow I will continue with that pilot. And that is something called cognitive-based compassion training. Nancy just went through the introductory course to that. And the introductory course allows you to get into train the trainer, which allows you to get into the practicum. So it's a really involved program. But the idea for us in the Charter for Compassion is that we want to train groups, like in different regional groups within the United States, within other countries, so that we have our own trained people, and so that this can really catapult. And so it is a cognitive-based compassion training is really for university-based people as well as for others. And also there is going to be next year a program just for teachers. So Fred, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and see if some of the people
we've been connected with Emory and had people from there come down and lead sessions on Sea Learning. So we're very familiar with that. And our faculty, as you say, we're not reinventing the wheel. Here's a group of college faculty that have taken this on. It has the full support of the president of the university. She loves it. I mean, there's so many things that this center does across the campus that just lightens, and painting and miniature horses and ice cream. Just go. It's a wonderful program. So I'd be happy to share with you, Marilyn, some of that information, because
great. Just contact me and we can have a Zoom call, and maybe with some of the people who are teaching this. The other thing is we'd love to introduce you to the compassionate colleges and universities. We have 200 of them around the world. And the other big thing that we have is a real movement to bring young people into the Charter's not only network, but also governing body of the Charter. So, for example, 40% of the Charter Board of Trustees is under the age of 35. And that really is an important move on our part, which would ensure, hopefully stability and continuation.
Wonderful.
So this was great. I mean, this is wonderful. You're also incredibly, forthright about what you're doing, and it's so exciting. And I want to ask Bill, for example, what he envisions with, now that we know who you are, and soon we'll learn about the other maybe 20 people who didn't come today who signed up, and we'll get the information out. But we want to look towards the next steps. And part of the next steps is that May 20th and also May 21st, we're initiating a two-part program. And I'll show you this and it's also on the front page of the Charter, is that it's called Seeds of Compassion. It's how to build a compassionate community. There are two 90-minute sessions, and there's one in the morning on the 20th, and then also in the morning, 7 days later. And then on the 21st in the afternoon, that one would probably also, besides people from the United States, would involve people from Japan and Australia and New Zealand, whereas the morning one would probably be the United States and Europe, and maybe some people from South America. So we'd really encourage you, if you're thinking of putting together a compassionate community, that not to just bring yourself, but to bring at least one or two other people, because that's important. You cannot build a compassionate community by yourself. You have to have a team of people. And you need that team of people in order to broaden your own perspective, to challenge your wisdom, and then also just to begin to ask questions of one another so that you can expand your team. Because I think it's fair to say that you want at least a half a dozen people to a dozen who are part of that team. And we can, get into, we're not going to have enough time to get into all of this nitty gritty tonight. But what we want to do is to assure that we get, I want to answer or recognize Jan hand, and then ask Bill if he kind of ask the question of the whole group of who wants to move forward with having this be a committee. So Jan, why don't you pose your question or reflection?
My question is, I'm asking if this group has a working definition of community size or characteristics.
Not yet. I mean, this is the first time. Are you asking about the charter, or are you asking about this group?
I am listening to a conversation that has used the term compassionate community in profusion, and I was on the call to understand compassionate and how that was being approached, but now I am wondering what the concept is of the characteristic or size goal. I mean, if you're saying you're building a compassionate community, what is that goal? What does it look like?
Again, a compassionate community, we started out with compassionate cities, and then people would say, we're a village, can we be a compassionate city? So we moved to compassionate communities, and a community can be a road like I live on in a rural area in the state of Washington. It could be a big high rise in a city like Chicago. It could be a community neighborhood. It could be a city, a town, a village. And so it really requires that in your conversation, as you begin to build your team, you determine what geographic area you want your community to be involved in. So
very helpful. I wasn't sure if it was place-based, if it was similarly burdened folk around that forming a community. No, it's place-based.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Bill, there you are. I don't know if you want to, because you started so eloquently to explain why you began this journey with us, and if you wanted to continue that and see who, one of the things when I met with Bill was it was clear that there were some places in Florida that wanted to create a compassionate community, and that kind of helped for us to put together what I just mentioned, those two courses. They're 90 minutes, so it would be two 90-minute sessions of how to build a compassionate community. We think that if we generalize that and then meet individually with people from those communities, and that's why we're encouraging people to come, like with at least 2 or 3 of you to begin that process, and then we'll continue it in small groups after that. The charter has a toolbox that we developed with the University of Kansas on building a compassionate community. We have an ambassador's guide, which is really good. And so we have a lot of the tools that you need in order to create that compassionate community. But compassion doesn't only have to be a community. It could be helping strengthen partnerships with people who work in ecology or in interfaith. We have 7 pillars that we work with, and I'm not going to have time to talk about the 7 pillars, but just so you know, we can have a follow-up meeting to this one to delve a little bit deeper into some of the other aspects of the charter. But for now, I really hope that this group will determine, do you want to continue? And we have lots of groups like this, or, do you want to go in a different direction? So for sure now, Bill, I'm turning it over to you.
I just wanted to answer Jan's question about the definition of a community of compassion. And I was called to a quote by J.M. Canov, I think is the way he says his name, K-A-N-O-V. And he says it's a collective noticing, feeling, and responding to suffering that promotes healing. And that's, to me, that's the gist of what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring people back together because of an environment of several years of hate and extremism and being pulled apart at our seams, and the whole fabric of the American society that we grew up in and grew to enjoy and appreciate is being torn apart. And I know from my point of view, I just can't stand seeing that happening. And I'm thinking about my grandchildren and their grandchildren, and what are we leaving them? And so I feel that we're called to do something about this. And I think we're at a crossroads to make a change happen. And I think somebody talked about converting from a system of a culture of hate and extremism to a culture of compassion and humanity. And that's where I'm focusing. So what I hope to get out of today's meeting, and Marilyn, you've been very generous in your time and giving us kind of a fire hose of what's available at the Charter for Compassion. And we need to be able to focus that energy and resources to what we need, both locally as well as in the state. And so what I'd like to accomplish tonight is to see if there are a group of us here that would be willing to be called ambassadors. And you can really kind of explain that term, Marilyn, but ambassadors of compassion for the state of Florida. And then who would like to focus on energy and forming what I would call circles of trust within our communities. I know in Fort Myers, we have already started bringing people together to apply some of the resources that you're talking about, Marilyn, to build that community of compassion in the Fort Myers, Lee County area. But I'm asking a lot of the UU churches to take the lead in their communities as well, because I think people of faith are being called to do this right now. And I think just we need a group of people in the state that are willing to provide a focus using the resources that Marilyn is talking about from across the country and across the world, evidently, and how to apply those to situations in Florida. And I'm delighted that we have, St. Augustine and St. Pete that have already come, several steps along the journey, and it can help us avoid the trapdoors and making this successful. If we can do this in enough cities in the state of Florida, I think we can actually make a change in Tallahassee itself. So I'm hoping that when we're done here today, we'll have, at least in your soul, in your heart, you'll have a feeling that you're willing to be one of the ambassadors in Florida and willing to help the other communities build communities of compassion.
And I'm wondering, Bill, if we could take advantage of the chat, if people would just say yay, if they're really interested, if you would put that in the chat.
Yeah.
There is one other mechanism that I just created prior to coming to this meeting. And that is, we have a platform, a communication platform called Sutra. And I just created a place on Sutra for Florida. And so there's nothing there yet. I created one last week for Australia and New Zealand. It's a brand new feature. And I will send an invitation to all of you to come to this platform where you can really use it in any way you want to communicate, to start and share ideas. You'll be getting within a day or two, you'll be getting an invitation from Sutra. So just so you know what that means when it comes to you.
Good, and I hope that, well, I do plan on having follow-up meetings and perhaps with or without Marilyn, and start to get organized and start to work with the ambassador program that Marilyn has put together. So you want to speak a little bit about that, Marilyn, the ambassador program?
Yeah, we just, in fact, Nancy was just present. We just had a second session on the ambassadors program. There are 2 guidebooks. And my suggestion would be, one, if you're really interested in building the compassionate community, think about May 20th and 21st as a possibility. Then the other thing is that there are, if you go to the homepage of the Charter for Compassion, you'll see under resources both of the ambassadors' books. They're very self-explanatory. And basically, they too talk about the need to bring people together in small teams, or as Bill was saying, into a term, because we use this quite frequently within the Charter for Compassion, where we actually have circles of trust. These are communication dialogues where people determine how often they meet and what the conversation is going to be. And the ambassador program really helps set the stage for doing that, but it goes beyond by really helping you determine what are the issues you can work on and what are the processes that you need in order to work on those issues.
Yeah, I think we have a long road ahead of us, but we have to start. And we just can't sit back and be indifferent. We have to make something happen.
Okay, a couple people have responded so you have a small team assembled so far. So if there's anyone else who wants to join with Bill, I have a feeling he will rope others in. So that if you haven't committed your name here, maybe he'll contact you and get you on that list.
I can twist arms very easily.
I can. So
Marilyn, you're going to send out the whole list of attendees, no? Yes?
I am going to, if you don't mind, yes, the answer to that is yes. You will get a recording of what we just experienced and a summation of some of the things we went through. I'll send a couple slides and some links like to the coursework that we talked about. So you'll notice everybody's name, but emails don't always are not so understandable, especially if you're, doughboy number 102. Somebody will say, well, who is that? But you'll get emails, yeah.
And if you know people that weren't able to come tonight that would be interested, please
They'll
give them my email address, and I'd be
Yeah,
glad to
no, anyone who registers for a charter event, even if they don't show up, they get the recording and the summation. It's also true of our like global reads or webinars that we do as well.
Great. Thank you, Marilyn, for spending the time and giving us a better window into the Charter for Compassion movement.
Well, great. This is wonderful, and just call on me anytime you need.
You bet.
Okay.
A question.
Bye, everybody. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yes. Other cities outside of Florida.
Yes.
If we have people who might be interested, or we know people who are willing to be a part of this, how we connect them.
Just give them the charter's, my email address, or they can contact the charter, contact@Charter for Compassion. Yeah, there we have 197 cities in the United States of the close to 600. So we have quite a number. And
And it looks
Nancy,
like Nancy, yeah.
Just before we go, there are two people I didn't catch the cities they're representing. Fred, are you in Fort Myers? Maybe.
Yes, I am in Fort Myers, and FGCU is in Fort Myers. But I am also a snowbird, as we say down here, and I spend my summers in Maine. But I will continue working. I'm happy to join Bill's group, and I'm a legal resident of Florida.
Fabulous. That's great. And the other person whose home city I missed was Janice. It's Jan, are you still on?
Yes, I am. And I'm currently in Davenport, but I have been a snowbird and I am going to be moving to my northern location in Minnesota, but I'm going to remain active in Florida.
Great.
I have so many projects that are currently in different places in Florida, so I will remain attached.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Bye.
Thank you very